Xiaomi might be coming out of the Chinese market, but they have been making moves to reach wider audiences, and you guys must be a part of that because you've been requesting us to take a look at these phones for some time. Well, I've been playing around with their brand new flagship, and I gotta say, it's pretty solid. Hey, it's Josh Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is my review of the Xiaomi Mi 4. The Mi 4 joins the growing line of phones, particularly out of the Chinese market, that are starting to sport metal in their frames. The Mi 4 comes with an apparently elaborately constructed metal skeleton that not only helps with sturdiness, but also helps with its looks. Even the buttons on the right side of the phone are metallic, and this time around you're getting the easy-to-reach power button that is now beneath the volume rockers. Follow the line around the phone and you'll see clean elements that include the headphone jack up top, the micro USB charging port on the bottom, and a speaker that is also on the bottom. The metal skeleton keeps together two panels. That obviously one is of the 5-inch screen, and then on the back you have the glossy plastic. Now, speaking of the 5-inch screen, you do have a pretty respectable bezel all around. It's really not all that big, and really it gives the phone an even better factor of slenderness. Underneath that screen are the capacitive keys and an LED light that is used primarily when charging the phone. Jump around to the back and the glossy plastic takes on a white color in this version I have, and despite its simple outlook, the feel of glossy plastic still tends to lend itself to some slippage. Now, handling the 5-inch form factor is a breeze compared to other phones, especially the ones coming from the Chinese market that have at least a ½ inch more diagonally. Getting around with one hand is far from difficult, and the flat sides of the metal frame make it very easy to grip. You really do get the sense that this is a sturdy phone, which is a common conception when you think of a metal device. Sure, it might look like a couple of other phones out there, but honestly, when they happen to make the phone look this good, we're not going to complain. While there are certainly no problems with this 1080p 5-inch display that has 441 pixels per inch, these are numbers that we've grown accustomed to seeing anyway throughout screens of this size and caliber. Colors are quite vibrant and the contrast allows for some deep blacks, making the viewing or even the gaming experiences as good as they should be on a flagship device. The viewing angles are also quite good too, with the image losing fidelity only at angles that are steeper than what practicality dictates. And if you look closely around the screen, you will see a small black line that frames the image, somewhat adding to the overall bezel size. Now, it's not a big deal by any means and is not a big offender as we've seen on other displays, but it is something that I thought would be worth noting. But underneath that enjoyable display is also the processing power that we've come to expect from a flagship like this. The Snapdragon 801 and the Adreno 330 backed by 3 GB of RAM. It's certainly the kind of power that you would need in order to do everything from working and playing. Play in particular was pretty dang fun on this device, as I had little to no slowdowns and even highly intensive games. One particular game that I got sucked into, Shadow Fight 2, showed off the contrast possible on this display as well as never quite slowing down. But then it is in hardware that we see the main issues with having a Chinese market phone outside of its origin. This version of the phone only connects to HSDPA networks, making the internet experience less than ideal for Western audiences. While that is something I've certainly had to contend with in the past, I've unfortunately had plenty of connection issues and haven't been able to use mobile networks consistently. As I said before, however, Xiaomi is trying to reach more audiences, and thus a version made for 4G and Western networks is upcoming, which is great. Phone calls came in loud and clear, and the same could mostly be said about the speaker on the bottom of the device. When playing clear music and playing high caliber games, the sound actually comes through quite loud, which is a big plus in the media department. And finally, the issue of network connectivity on the Mi 4 did make it kind of tough for me to create some real battery metrics for you, so I'll just give you my experience. One thing I will tell you is that the standby time is actually really great. I had the phone sitting for quite a while and it really made no dent in the longevity of the phone overall. I did do one specific test using a looped season of a television show at half brightness and volume. While it died before I could get a screenshot of the battery usage, it definitely took at least 8 hours to reach single digits. We then move on to the camera, which is mostly a standard affair, and another example of Xiaomi ticking off all the right boxes on the Mi 4. 13 megapixels are what you get in the rear-facing camera, with a very impressive 8 megapixels packed into the front-facing camera. The interface is pretty simplistic and can be changed from simple to advanced, which does add some settings, but mostly removes the icon labels. Ultimately, the functionality is on par with other smartphone camera offerings, which include burst modes and even a refocusing mode if you want to play with your depth of field. Camera quality is about as standard as you can expect. In broad daylight, the camera does well to capture detail, though it might produce the occasional photo that is, well, too bright. Indoors, it starts to taper off in quality, but that's to be expected when you start to lose light. The grain appears and gets exponentially worse as conditions get less ideal, with color even losing fidelity in those darker situations. The front-facing camera does produce some nice large photos, but its color reproduction leaves quite a bit to be desired. Selfie lovers might enjoy the higher pixel count on this front-facing camera, but it doesn't bring anything extraordinary to the table. And thus we make it to software, which is where some real differences between this and other flagship devices truly appear. In the MIUI operating system, we have Android in what I could call a hybrid fashion. Much of what you'd expect from Android is turned on its head here, like the lack of an app drawer and the lack of Google Play services in the Chinese build. But it's not hard to install it yourself, and actually, thankfully, in my version of this unit, the Play Store was actually already installed. Bubbly icons are par for the course here, all sprawled out on home screens that will only be organized by your will and use of folders. Due diligence is thus needed here, but you will be able to make a clean interface with some effort. After that, the menus take on the same simplistic but attractive style, and just about everything moves in some sort of interesting fashion via some lovely transitions. Get underneath the surface and you'll find quite a lot of customization. A powerful theme engine gives you a slew of new themes and options to get away from the norm. The notification dropdown can be customized to a good amount to show icons in rows or grids, or even show certain information like your current bandwidth speed. The capacitive keys can be further used for long press functions as well. Xiaomi's own apps are all still in Chinese, making them impossible for anyone who can't read it. While I didn't have too much trouble with the applications I installed on there, I did see the Google Play Store crash on more than a few occasions. At the very least, you can't say that the MIUI isn't always improving. Updates are available on a weekly basis, and might be a mixed blessing because of how frequent they'll notify you of that. Now, the Mi4 isn't available widely just yet, but if you do want this phone right now, the currency exchange will make this about $350 US. That's actually a pretty good price for some really solid hardware, which is the best way to describe this phone. Make sure you'll be able to use it on your network though. And in the end, the Xiaomi Mi 4 is another example of a point I posited not too long ago. That if the Chinese market for smartphones is trying to break free and show us what it's really made of here on the other side of the world, then examples like the Mi 4 service signs that they are definitely succeeding. What you get here is a package that is easy on the eyes and easy to use thanks to the somewhat controversial take on Android called MIUI. We're seeing a new batch of metal-clad smartphones, especially in the Asian market, but it seems that they're all going to come to the US in one way or another. And in the case of the Mi 4, they're off to a good start. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review of the Xiaomi Mi 4. We'll definitely keep our eye on Xiaomi from now on, and I know that sometimes I may not pronounce the name correctly, but I hope Xiaomi is about as good as I'm gonna get it. But nonetheless, stay tuned for more coverage of this, and IFA is right on its way. It's just days away, so you can make sure to take a look at all the coverage I'm going to have. I'm going to be there right on the show floor, bringing you all of the new announcements for a bunch of new phones, and also smartwatches, as we're going to be seeing quite a bit of presence of those with Android Wear on the cusp. So from there, make sure you stay tuned and take a look at content from my colleagues in Android as well. And from there, drop us some likes, subscribe if you haven't already. And once you're done with all of that, don't forget to head on over to AndroidAuthority.com because we are your source for all things Android.
Okay, so features wise, from the front of the phone we have the proximity sensor, standard on all Xiaomi phones, the front speaker, headphone speaker, the headset speaker, and the front camera, which is an 8 megapixel camera. On the top of the device we have the 3.5mm headphone jack and also an infrared receiver for different devices such as DVD players, air conditioning units, hi-fi systems, televisions, so you can remote control a multiple of devices, and we'll show you that as the video continues. Other side of the phone, we have the volume up and down key and the power key. I'll just turn this around again. Bit of a different feature on this phone. This time Xiaomi have actually placed the SIM card tray on the side of the phone as opposed to the top of the phone on the Mi 3. The bottom of the phone features the usual USB port, mini micro USB port, and standard speaker. It's a dual speaker at the bottom. On the rear of the device we have the 13 megapixel camera plus LED flash, LED flash and the camera. The smaller space here is the second microphone for noise cancellation. So very much the same as other Xiaomi phones, dual microphone support, as I say, for noise cancellation purposes. I'm just going to do a 360 of the phone now so you can have a look just how thin this device actually is. Obviously the curved back makes this phone very easy to hold. Not like the Mi 3. The Mi 3 is slightly more difficult to hold than the Mi 4. Obviously, like I say, the curved back makes it very comfortable in the hand. The thin bezel, again, also makes it very comfortable. So go ahead and just quickly switch this phone on, and you can have a look at how quickly this boots. It's actually running Android version 4.42 currently. Expect this to get 4.44 in the next few days. It does share the same system ROM as the Mi 3, the Mi 3W. This is also the WCDMA version, just to be clear. This is not the LTE version. So we'll just go through the standard setup now and show you just how quick and easy it is. Just go ahead and take the screen protection off as well. Connect the Wi-Fi up. That's connected now. So this type of SIM card will not work in your Mi 4. You will need to get a replacement SIM card or go to a shop and ask them to cut the SIM card down to fit the phone for you. That's it, that's the phone set up. It's ready to use now. So Wi-Fi connected. All good. Okay, I'm just going to quickly just take the SIM card tray out and just show you. Whereas on the Mi 3 it is a metal stroke plastic. Just quickly show you that. Okay, so features wise this device has got the following. As I said before, it had a 8 megapixel front camera and a 13 megapixel rear camera. The memory on the device is 3 GB LPDDR3 with an internal storage of 16 gig eMMC. Standard network bands for WCDMA, which range GSM 850, 900, 1800 and 1900 megahertz, and that's in the GSM band. For WCDMA this comes with 850, 900, 1900 and 2100 megahertz frequency support. Also supports DCH-SPA plus, WAPI and LAN support for 802.11a, b, g, n and AC. Features GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, which is a Chinese location service, and also AGPS. Other features include Wi-Fi Direct, Bluetooth 4.0, as I said before, standard 3.5mm headphone jack, FM radio support, and USB OTG 2.0 support as well. It also has gyroscope, pressure sensor, proximity, and all the other sort of standard things which you'd expect from a smartphone. In terms of the video capabilities, this will do 1080p and also 4K video recording. So if you're into your 4K video and high resolution recording, this device is definitely the one for you. The CPU is a 2.5 GHz Snapdragon 801, and that's an MSM 8247AC, just for those wondering what the actual model number of the CPU is. I'm just going to put the SIM card tray back into this now. It can only go in one way, so you make sure that the pin is located to the pin on the chassis as well. In terms of fluidity, very smooth. You may have seen our previous video at the Xiaomi annual conference where we quickly did show this, but just wanted to show again on the retail version that it is just as good and that there's no actual issues with the performance. So all of these standard things. Just put the screen up to full brightness. And that's a very quick video unboxing of the Xiaomi Mi 4. We will do another video showing the benchmarks and other features of the phone in just a few moments. So stay tuned for that on YouTube, and thanks for watching this unboxing video. Yeah everyone, this is just another video just to show you some of the comparisons between the Xiaomi Mi 4 and an iPhone and the Xiaomi Mi 3. As you can see, Mi 3 kind of sits in between the three devices in terms of size and scale. And for those who think, yeah, it looks like an iPhone, yes, it does a little bit look like an iPhone, but to be honest, it looks a lot nicer than an iPhone. So I'm just going to quickly just do a comparison between the iPhone and the Mi 4, just so you can actually see. But the bezel itself is actually more refined, more curved. And on the iPhone, it's flat, a bit like the Mi 3. So not as comfortable to hold in the hand as the Mi 4. Smaller screen obviously on the iPhone than the Mi 4. So if the screen size is a thing which is a big deal for you, then you know the Mi 4 is a better phone for you. Otherwise, the Mi 4 is actually smaller in its overall height. It is slightly higher than the Mi 3, I think to accommodate the curvature of the back, whereas on the Mi 3 it's flat, just like the iPhone's back. So hence why the height difference. Mi 3 compared to the Mi 4, thickness again doesn't actually look like there's a lot in there, but again, it is a lot nicer to hold the Mi 4 than the Mi 3. This big bezel kind of makes it more chunky and more clunky. So it is a big design improvement from Xiaomi on this new phone. Much richer colours on the Mi 4 than on the Mi 3. Not to say that the Mi 3 does not have a good screen, it does have a great screen, but the screen on this is just better and better every time Xiaomi bring a new phone out. So that's a quick comparison between the Mi 3 and the Mi 4. As I said before, on the Mi 3 you do have the SIM card tray at the top, which for some people can be a bit of a problem. I prefer it on the side, I think it's a nice design change. The headphone jack's in position and the USB ports are at the speaker, similar position as well. And also you do have the capacitive buttons on both devices. It doesn't appear that there is an LED behind the buttons. No, there is actually an LED behind the buttons, my bad. So you do have the LED, which you can't actually see on the video, it's white on white, but they are there, so in dark conditions you will be able to find the buttons. I know that was a big problem with the Mi 2 and the Mi 2S, where the back was like reflective kind of paint, so no problems with that. And run the quick test. As with all of these tests, it does take a few minutes because it is checking every piece of the hardware, so we do need to give it a little bit of time to run. Actually, just while this is running, just to give you a little bit more information in terms of the LTE support, we expect September for the TDD LTE version, which will work in some foreign countries. You'll need to check with your network operator to see if your network supports the TDD LTE network. In terms of the FDD LTE, there is still no release date announced for other European LTE networks. So if LTE is something you desperately want in the Mi 4, I would suggest you wait, because there's no, as I say, no information at present, but we will post it on social media and on our website as soon as we have some information to give you guys and girls. In terms of the frames per second, you can probably see on here, but it's running at currently about 44 to 30 frames per second, very smooth, again, a bit like the Mi Pad review we did. No noticeable glitches, no noticeable lags at all, very vibrant, very colourful. Obviously if gaming on a smartphone is your cup of tea, or you like to game, this device stacks up very. So benchmark test finished running, and as you can see, this came out with a 35962 score. So it's beating the HTC One M8, the Samsung Galaxy S5, Samsung Galaxy Note 3, Xiaomi Mi 3. Amazing device, as I said before. If gaming is your thing, this device will definitely suit you. The capabilities are more than sufficient.